Coffee with Kurt and Kate. Kate, do you have your coffee?
Yes. Oh, I do. Is it time?
Hang on a sec.
On the air.
I have to officially, hang on, stop everything. Got to drink my coffee, otherwise it's not official. There we go.
Coffee.
I just spilled it all over myself.
Kurt and Kate. Dignity. Well, you wear it well. Yes. But Dignity Roasters.
This is why I never wear white shirts. Look at this. I even wore my white pineapple shirt, brand new.
It is very festive.
Now I have coffee all over it. I'm wearing my coffee. Coffee
Nice
with Kurt and
coffee.
Kate.
Yes.
So be careful when you use the coffee
with Kurt and Kate and Chris. Chris was doing fun things with his coffee cup.
All right, so can we
He's ready.
Chris Fabry from Chris Fabry Live is joining us. Coffee with Kurt and Kate live on Facebook, Facebook Live as well as YouTube. Hey, Chris, let's see. Can you flash your Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee tumbler?
Yep, there it is. See it? Isn't it beautiful?
There you
there
are.
It is.
Wait, no. Yeah. Oh, yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
Very
And what were you
nice.
doing with the pen? You were doing something with your pen as
yeah,
well.
that's just, it's like Darth Vader's going going through the...
Oh, do we have to bring up the Darth Vader thing? All right,
Everybody
everybody.
loved that.
Good morning!
Good morning. So
Very early for you.
Yeah, what
Thank
time is
you.
it there? It's probably 6:15.
It's at, 6:15, 6:17. And I'm awake and alive and ready to talk to you.
Oh, good.
That's excellent.
Good.
So,
Are you a morning guy at all, or I know you're
Yeah,
now
because
you're in the afternoon.
I did the radio program in Chicago in the morning, and then when I
Right.
stopped that in '99, I just kept getting up at the same time, so I could get a lot more done. I get a lot more done before 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning than the rest of the day. Almost. Look at that. Wake up.
Wake up. Is that your cup from
it's nice.
back in the day? That's
Yeah.
John Block.
We used to
holding it
have-
up. Yeah.
That was a huge. That one was. That was a huge. Just don't drink too much out of that, John.
that's awesome. You could wear it as a hat too. It has a chin strap that comes with it. It's perfect. It's ideal. Well, Chris, thanks for being with us here this morning. I know we have a lot of folks who are tuning in and they're like, "Man, I kind of want to ask Chris Fabry a question." They could do that, can't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ask away. I can't guarantee you it'll make any sense what I say, but ask your question.
That makes it much more entertaining and fun. Painful for you, entertaining for us. That's
right.
That's the whole idea. We'd like to say hi to everybody joining us. Thank you guys for your time, and we appreciate you. Okay, so everybody's wondering, how in the world can we win the prize pack? And I always tend to get involved in the conversations.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh man, I haven't mentioned
And
the
now
prize
what?
pack, and how do we do this? So you ready to toss this out, Kate?
Yes.
You're ready. I mean, 100% ready.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
10 prize. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I have been wrong before.
This was a little on the fly here. We were doing it today.
Okay, so we've got 10 prize packs that we're going to be giving away.
Yes.
Okay, 10 prize packs, which include, each one of them include a Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee tumbler, Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee blend, courtesy of Dignity Roasters. Going to get a couple of these, I think, of the prize pack at least, because this makes a
they're
pot.
good. Yes.
And then you're going to get one of these as well. It is a book, Chris Fabry's brand new book, A Piece of the Moon, courtesy of Tyndale House Publishers. And Chris, you're going to sign these, aren't you?
I am going to sign every one of them. You'll either get an actual book signed in it or a book plate that comes along with that. It's the same thing. So I'm excited.
That is very cool. And can I tell you just real quickly about Dignity Roasters? Because, Chris, you'll love this ministry. They, if people are homeless or really in a tough place right now, they go there and they train them and get them their certificates so that they can work in other things. And they roast the coffee. And it's like they're like boutique batches, if you will, and even after they work all day there, they have a little garden so they could pick their dinner tonight. That
cool.
It's just a wonderful ministry, and we're just so happy to be able to be working with them as well. It's just great.
All right.
I opened mine just a minute yesterday and took one sniff, and it's like, this is the real stuff.
Yes.
This is real coffee. It smells great.
It's real good stuff.
So you've been sniffing it as well. I have to stop.
I'm always smelling the best.
By the way, before we tell people how they can have an opportunity to win the prize packs, speaking of sniffing, Chris, are you a book sniffer?
Oh, I love the smell of books. As a matter of fact, when I go to the library, there's just the smell of all of those books together. Or you walk into a bookstore and they're just this, it just enlivens something. That's one of the reasons why I knew I wanted to be a writer at some point in my life, is the affinity that I had for that, the aroma of books.
Yeah.
And it's what you don't get with the e-reader. I'm not against an e-reader, but you lose the page, you lose the tactile feel, and you lose that smell of the page.
Yeah. Yep. I get that.
And you're right. And here's one of the other problems with that. I'm getting on my soapbox. Sorry, guys. When it comes to this, is books lose their personality. They all look the same on an e-reader, and you're reading them digitally and all that stuff. Whereas, you can actually hold the printed copy, right? And they look different. And you know what? My books are my friends, and I have a lot of friends at home. Probably,
and you can pick up an old book, an old friend, and just feel like, oh, okay. And you get this sense of calm and peace and adventure, maybe. Depending on what the book is.
Yeah, it's my copy too. And it has maybe it's bumped on the sides or whatever. It has thumbprints on it.
When you highlighted that, oh yes, I remember that.
Oh, I can't do
now,
that.
See,
that's
I'm
defacing a book to highlight it.
You should know, Chris, that he is a real book snob. He is absolutely a snob about that.
Did you just call me a snob?
A book snob.
Oh, okay.
A book snob. Yeah.
Well, but see, I think underlining a sentence or something that sticks out to you, if it's not your book, don't do this.
Right.
If it's a library book, don't do this. But if it's my book, I just this morning I was underlining several sections. A quote by G.K. Chesterton is like, I want to come back to this. At some point, I'm going to need to find this again on this page. So I say, if it's your book and you have paid for it, make it your own. Yeah. I have my father's Bible over on the other side of the room, and I will sometimes open that, just look at the things that he underlined, or the note that he wrote in the margin. Yeah. That's gold to me. So, maybe you'll kick me off for that, Kurt.
No, I won't, because
a
Bible is a little different, though.
Yeah.
I'm obsessive compulsive when it comes to my books. Okay, even my Bibles. But I have to tell you something, Chris. One of my prized possessions is my grandfather's Bible. It's sitting on my desk at home, and that thing is like all beat up, and it has been marked up. But I'm looking at these notes, and this is priceless. I keep telling myself this because I need to leave something for my kids. You know, oh wow, look at this. It's kind of like documenting your walk with God.
Yeah.
But I need to get over this. I can't put a mark in that. No.
I have an old one that literally is falling apart. The pages are falling out.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's all marked up. But my grandson wants it when I go. He wants me not to die, but then he does want the
Which is
Bible
always
when
nice.
I go. And it's cute because I have a daughter named Leah, and she went through, and she's autistic and special, but she knows her name when she saw it, and she went through and circled Leah wherever she saw it in the Bible. It was fun. So it's precious.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is good stuff. Okay, so A Piece of the Moon, we're going to talk about the book and the whole idea. Even though I'm a book lover, I'm definitely not a fiction reader. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you'd like a chance to win the prize pack, again, it's going to have the Curtain Cape Mornings coffee tumbler. You'll also get the Curtain Cape Mornings coffee blend and a signed copy of Chris's book, A Piece of the Moon, Tyndale House Publishers. Text the word, I'm going to be creative here today, coffee.
Coffee or win?
JB, is that okay if we do coffee? Because we had something else hooked up to coffee.
Let's go with coffee.
Okay.
All right, that was kind of on the fly there, but when you're trying to be avant-garde,
we
that's
like
what
coffee.
happens.
We do.
Text the word coffee to the Curtain Cape hotline, which is 888-777-6810. That's 888-777-6810 for your chance to win one of these prize packs. We've got 10 of them going out the door. Look at JB, the way he's holding the prize pack.
I don't have enough hands for all these prizes.
Look at that.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
Can you
So
balance?
much goodness here.
There you go. Well, that's a pretty good job.
Smell the coffee. Blanca says she loves the way the books smell too.
Yeah, I know. And it's the Bibles, especially when you've got leather or goatskin leather, premium leather, and they come and in the mail and they're in these boxes and then you open them up and then it's like, and then you look around to see if anybody was looking at you doing that. You know, did anybody see me just do that?
Yeah.
I don't care anymore, though. The older you get, the less you care about stuff like that, I guess.
We're judging people by how they read books.
Oh,
real books or...
Okay, so text the word...
Not just
see
my
what
coffee
you started,
smells
Chris.
The book smells good.
Text the word coffee for your chance to win the prize pack to 888-777-6810. A Piece of the Moon. Okay, so when it comes to fiction, before we get into this, the reason why I've always had trouble with fiction is because I feel like I need to be learning something, and that's why I when I read biographies, autobiographies, among my favorite genres, I always feel like I'm learning something, progressing somehow, some way. And I feel like with fiction, it doesn't capture my attention maybe as deeply as a nonfiction book. There's that issue, and then there's the issue of I'm having trouble following the story. Maybe I'm not reading the right fiction books. Maybe that's part of the problem. But I don't know. I'm going to read your book for sure. But part of the reason why we invited you to be with us is so that you can convert me into a fiction reader. Step number 1, send me a copy of your book. So I've got it right here. Beyond that, what do I need to do?
Well, I think you need to give yourself space to be who you are and to learn and grow, in the way that you learn and grow. Just like you don't like to underline books, I'm a little different than you are. And so give yourself that space to be who you are. But I will say this, that the gospel is a story. The gospel is basically the story of God invading time and space and showing his love to us. So when you read the gospels, you're reading the story of God at work. When you read the Old Testament, you're reading the same thing. Now, there are different types of literature throughout the Bible that we can learn and grow from, and you read that differently. You read the poems in the Bible, the Psalms, differently than you would read the history or the letters of Paul. But my biggest thing that I will say to you to encourage you is, what did God use to show David his sin? What did God use to do that thing inside of David that he wanted to do? He sent Nathan the prophet. And what did Nathan the prophet do? Nathan the prophet told him a story about a poor man with a little lamb and a rich man who had a traveler come by. And the rich man took this lamb, this lamb that slept in the same room, in the house with the poor man, and cooked him for dinner. And David rose up and was incensed that this would happen, in this story. I'm going to get that guy. And it's because David was a shepherd at heart. Yeah. Nathan told him a story that reached somewhere deep inside of him. And he said, this is unjust. I need to throw that guy in jail, And Nathan said, you're the man. And when I read fiction, when you get lost in a story, when you get immersed in a story, you forget your reading. You forget you're not trying to keep all the characters in line. You're just in the soup or in the river of that story. And what I find is that many times God will come around the back door of my heart and knock, just like Nathan did with David, to show myself to me. A good book is something that will read you more than you read it.
Yes.
Because it shows you yourself. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a part of, and this happens in writing as well. You have to suspend yourself. You have to kind of leap off the edge into the book so that you can immerse yourself in that story and become part of it rather than analyze it and stand apart from it. You've got to be in it in order for it to do the work that's inside of you. And the best book that shows that is the Bible, which again is a great big long story from Genesis to Revelation about what God is doing in the world.
Yes.
God loves a good story, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. That's what he used. Jesus used all the time.
The parables, of course. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So A Piece of the Moon, there's always a story behind the story. Tell us what started, this whole thought process for the book itself.
Well, one of the main things about it is it's a treasure hunt. And there's an old guy named Gideon Quidley who's made a lot of money who says, I want to get people reading the Bible because the power is people reading the Bible for themselves. So he gets an idea and says, I'm going to hide a treasure in the hills, and I am going to give the treasure map will be verses of the Bible. So people will have to read the Bible in order to find the treasure. And this is based on a man named Forrest Fenn, who a few years ago hid a treasure somewhere in the Rocky Mountains and made a poem and said, I want to get people out in nature. I want to get them to go out and walk. And I thought, what would happen if this old guy, wanted people to read the Bible instead of go walk into nature? And so it was based on that. And then I used what happened to me as a 16, 17-year-old kid in the hills of West Virginia, working at a little country and western radio station. And I set the whole story in this fictional town of Emmaus, West Virginia. And nothing ever happens in Emmaus, but everything centers around the morning show with Wade Evers and T.D. Lovett. And so you get it's set in 1981, just after Raiders of the Lost Ark comes out.
Oh, yeah.
So every time they do a treasure update, they play the Raiders of the Lost Ark, because that's the other thing. The old guy, Gideon Quidley, has hidden the treasure in a replica of the Ark of the Covenant somewhere in the hills.
That's great.
And so
I love it.
It's mayhem ensues. Kurt Kate.
Of course.
Okay, you sold me on mayhem right there. That should be the word of the day.
Well, I think that's another thing that is another reason it's good to read stories, is because mayhem always ensues, or there isn't a story. So people think that your life should be problemless, and it shouldn't be, because then you're not going to have a story to tell.
Right.
And we all need a story to tell.
That's a good point.
Conflict fuels fiction. If you don't see conflicts, as a matter of fact, the best stories begin somewhere in the middle, in medias res, in the middle of the struggle, in the middle of the problem. And that's one of the things on Chris Fabry Live that we talk about every day is struggle is not a sign of failure in your life. Struggle is a sign that God is at work.
Yeah.
But most of the time we don't judge life that way. We judge it with, if everything is smooth sailing and everything is going well, then I can make sense of my life. And look at Joseph's story. Everything is going well. He's going down to see his brothers. He winds up in a pit and then sold into slavery, and he didn't understand it. And then he winds up in jail for something he didn't do. It's just conflict after conflict after conflict. But redemption comes because he was faithful in the middle of what he was doing. He was faithful to continue to interpret the dream. And so that's what I think fiction helps us do. It helps us persevere. It helps us keep on going, take one more step when we don't understand what's going on around us.
And I think the principle that you'll learn in the book, whatever it is, or the story, is one step removed from you so you can hear it better. And you hear it, and you, like David, you hear it and you're listening, and then all of a sudden, bam, I did that.
That's a good point.
It kind of is a safer place to present the dangers of doing what is right sometimes, or wrong.
You know what? Kate, you're writing a book. As a matter of fact,
Yes.
Chris, I'm going to out her on this.
Have for a long time.
Really?
Way too long. Way
You may
too
not
long.
know about this. The name of the book is Entropy, right?
Entropy, yeah.
Okay. And did you finish the first draft of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've got to go in and make a lot of changes. But it's, it's kind of a not science fiction per se, because it's real science that's happening, but we should be scared by it, kind of. And it's also after a big, kind of a plague thing. I should have published it years ago. And then they would say, oh, she has so great thoughts. But it's like, where will the church be? What's going to be left, the remnants of us, after a real disaster where the world behaved badly as well to it, and how do we pick up the pieces? But there is going to always be a remnant, and they may be hiding in the hills, and they may be running from the powers that be. But it's there because God is, because there will always be people clinging to Him, clinging to the truth, and that is our hope here outside of Him.
But
it's a story about where all the places.
That's a great title too, and just a one-word title. It reminds me of the films that come out that just have one word in the title.
Yeah.
It makes you ask the question, what in the world is this about? But I want to encourage you. I had Maggie Rowe. Maggie Rowe's a friend of mine. I used to work with her at Tyndale Publishers, and now she's moved to North Carolina, and she published her first book at 67.
Wow. And
just in this last year, she was nominated for an ECPA award, Evangelical Christian Publishers Association award, I believe. Her category was new author.
Isn't that awesome?
I love that. That's great.
We were talking about in the 8 o'clock hour here on the show, we were talking about retirement and how that can be, the retirement lie in America, and how it's easy for us as followers of Jesus to just kind of put everything on the back burner. Okay, well, it's going to be all relaxation, etc. That only goes so far. And then we had our good friend Trucker Bob, who called in, and he said, listen, I retired, and he was in publishing too, as a matter of fact. That's what he told this guy. I didn't know that. He had retired. Then he's like, you know what? After the sugar rush of retirement, I need to be doing something. So then he got his license, and he was driving the big rigs all across the country, became a truck driver. And then he's like, that's a little much. Then he retires again. And then his wife says, seriously? He was making jewelry for her, right? That was his hobby. Is that what he said he was doing?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And finally, she said, I have enough jewelry. Everything's okay. Maybe you want to get out of the house a little bit. So then he started driving trucks locally and all of that. So, but you can tell that he is a lifelong learner. He is not afraid of embracing new challenges. So maybe we have somebody watching us here, listening to us, who may be like you, Kate. Maybe they have never had a published book, but they're, maybe in their 50s, 60s, whatever. And Chris, that story that you shared could be a great encouragement for them. Let's not limit ourselves, because, in essence, what we're doing as followers of Jesus is we're limiting God, right? That He can't work through us because we're such and such an age and whatever. Yeah. I don't want to fall into that trap. So, Chris, that's an encouraging story. Yeah.
And Chris, we have someone, Keith from Bradenton said, Chris, you have such an expressive voice. I love when you read the short stories on your program. I have always wondered, have you recorded any of your books on audio?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this Piece of the Moon is me recording it. And after 12 years, I finally recorded Junebug, which is it was like the second book, the second adult novel that I had written. I recorded that as well. And there were several others before that I actually recorded for Oasis Audio, I believe. But yes, and that's one of my favorite things to do. I love, they allowed me to do a lot of the Gary Chapman books, the 5 love languages, and those types of things.
Yeah.
And I just love the way that Gary writes, because it's so simple. Even I can pronounce the words and I can understand it.
Yeah.
And so, recorded books is one of the, I love listening to books myself. And so I don't think there's anybody who can interpret a book that I've written the way that I can interpret it, because I've kind of lived through it.
Right.
Already.
The people. the characters.
By the way, Chris, you do encourage those who are starting to write, beginning writers. This is one of your sweet spots. You feel like God has called you to encourage folks who have the writing talent, the writing bug, so to speak, and that's one of the things that you love to do.
It is, because I believe if you have a desire to write, that there's something inside that God has implanted in you. You know, if you just want to see your name on the spine of a book, or if you just want fame and fortune, don't go into publishing. Don't go into writing, because it's not there. I mean, it is for a few people, but if there is this desire to communicate with other people on the written page, you know, and it doesn't have to be a book. It could be short stories. It could be a blog. It could be, you know, a tweet. Then follow that and see where it leads you. But you have to do the hard work of writing. You know, writing is not talking about writing. Writing is sitting down and doing it.
Yeah,
and I find that that's my biggest motivation to people, is to give them the belief that I can do this. The website that I have is heyyoucanwrite.com. And that's based on what a mentor of mine said to me in high school. Hey, you can write! ! So that was the encouragement that I needed to then kind of launch me later on into writing fiction.
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask you about the discipline of it as well, but just Joanne McElroy just wrote in, my first book is just released this week. I'm 85.
Yay!
Beyond all thinking.
Nice.
Congratulations, Joanne.
That's great.
Wonderful.
That's exactly what we're talking about. By the way, we're going to be reconnecting with Chris. We have our window with our Zoom with him. So now's a great time to do a couple of things. Number one, encourage you, if you would like a chance to win one of our prize packs that we're giving away during our Coffee with Kurt and Kate this morning. In the prize pack, you're going to get a Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee tumbler. Very valuable stuff here. Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee blend from Dignity Roasters. There's their logo on the back. They do great work in
Yes,
Ocala.
they do. Amazing ministry.
And then we'll also give you some Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, no, Kate.
No, that was...
That's what you brought in for us this morning.
But,
JB, did you get one of these?
The coffee.
I've had the chocolate and the blueberry. Thank you, KDB.
Well, you get an extra 2 today, because I bought a dozen instead, because I knew we were all working a little bit later.
Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
You don't get the donuts, but you're going to get a Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee mug.
Which is
and
really
the coffee.
Nice.
And also, you're going to get a copy of Chris's new book that we've been talking about, A Piece of the Moon. And you can see it right there. And he's going to sign it for you. So either you're going to have a book that is signed, the book itself, or a book plate that he's going to sign for you.
Which is kind of cool, too.
Yeah, so text the word coffee for your chance to win one of these prize packs. Text the word coffee. That's all you need to do to 888-777-6810. That's 888-777-6810.
And we want to say good morning to a lot of people who said good morning to us on Facebook.
Absolutely.
Kumar, good morning. Good morning. I'm not sure how to say your first name. I'm so sorry. Susan, good morning. Mara Rodriguez. She
listens
from
every
Chicago.
day from
yes,
Chicago.
She's such a
Hi,
great,
Mara. How are
faithful,
you?
Happy birthday. Good morning, and have a wonderful weekend.
Whose birthday is it? Happy birthday?
Know.
What are you reading?
That was somebody else.
Is that for Pierre, our station manager?
Happy birthday, Pierre. Patrick Casey. It's early for Chris, probably hanging over the backyard fence.
Yeah.
Yuck, yuck. Perry, is that Kurt on the piano earlier? You were playing piano. Music, Ashley. Happy birthday, Pierre. It's my birthday, too. Happy birthday, Ashley. Happy birthday. Blanca says good morning from Cape Coral. Good morning, Blanca.
Hi, Blanca.
Brad, this is the day that the Lord has made. And let us rejoice
and be glad in it. We can fill in the blank on that.
Patty
one.
says drinking this morning from the K&K mug that she won earlier this year. Thank you, Patty. Congratulations. Juanita says good morning. It's good to have coffee with us, which is cool. And Keith, good morning from Brandon. And Patty, Jesus also used parables, perhaps fictional, but based on truth. And that's
absolutely
what
true.
The good story is all about.
Let me just say that if I'm reading fiction, if I'm finally going to nail this down and say I'm going to do this, and we were talking about being a lifelong learner, I want to learn to love good fiction.
Yes.
I think a great place to begin is with A Piece of the Moon. So I'm going to keep this copy, and I'm going to start reading it. And
it's the
maybe
beginning of your trip.
Yeah, and on the morning show, maybe I'll be able to give you like a review of the book itself. And I want to ask Chris about the ending. I don't want no spoiler alerts here, but there he is. He's back with us. Hey,
I'm back.
The ending of this book is not all of your. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I have not read any of your books, but I hear that not all of your books have a happy ending, but this one does. Did I get that right?
Yes, because when I wrote Junebug, I had it's about a little girl who drives around the country with her dad in an RV, and she walks into Walmart one day and sees herself on the missing children poster, and she wonders, who am I and who is he? So the end of that book, I had so many people write me and say, I didn't like the ending because this should have happened and it didn't happen, and I wanted that to happen. But I write organically. I write, I think I know where it's going to wind up at the end, but I allow the story to go where it needs to go, and realistically needs to go. So I don't superimpose a happy ending over my stories, but this one, I knew somebody was going to find the treasure. Now, who's it going to be? The people that you're rooting to find the treasure, or other people? And what will happen in that little town, that little community? So, yes, there are ribbons and bows that are tied on the end of this that aren't tied like some of my other stories, but there's still this dissonance on the inside, just like life. There's still struggle. There's still questions about what may happen in the future.
Yeah, there has to be a risk. You have to risk something in order to make something more valuable, really. It's like you wonder, and I think it's kind of horrible and kind of understandable that murder mysteries and stuff are so important, but because the risk has to be very high, because a life is very high risk. You know, it's very valuable. And so I think sometimes that's why it's not, they miss their dinner plate, or they miss something, their car is lost. That's sad if it happens to you, but it's not as valuable as a person being lost.
Sure, absolutely. Just occurs to me that you might be watching right now and you're like, man, I've always wanted to say hi to Chris Fabry. I haven't gotten through on the radio show. I've tried and tried and tried. I want to ask him a question. The phone lines are open. I can take your calls, actually. Let me give you the number. It's 888-777-6810. It's the Kurt and Kate hotline, 888-777-6810. That's the same number you can text the word coffee to for a chance to win one of our prize packs. So the title for this, A Piece of the Moon, is kind of compelling. What is The Piece of the Moon?
Well, that part of the story came from Larry Burkett. Does anybody see a show of hands?
Love
anybody remember
Larry Burkett. Yeah. Miss him greatly.
He worked in the space administration early on, and there was a story about Larry receiving from an astronaut who had been to the moon an actual rock, a moon rock. And you can go and you can research this. Steve Moore told me this story and then introduced me to a friend of Larry's who knew more about the story. And I thought, what if there was somebody who had an actual moon rock in their possession? How much would that thing be worth? There were rocks that were brought back from the moon that were given to the governor of every state in the Union, and then heads of state in other countries. And those rocks started to go on. eBay wasn't around, but started to go on to the market. So the story is based in 1981. So this is, 69 was the first moonwalk. So you could see how this character, Gideon Quidley, who's the old eccentric guy who wants people to read the Bible, you could see how he might have a piece of the moon. And what would people do to get that? And what would they do if they knew that he had placed this in that Ark of the Covenant? So there is a piece of the moon that flows throughout the story. I can't tell you everything because I'd have to kill you if I did. But
we want to
live
through
that story.
Yes. You know what I've thought of here, guys? I got to tell you a story. Speaking of stories, my dad's best friend was one of the first astronauts. His name was Roger Chaffee. He was a guy that...
Grissom, Chaffee, White.
Yes, yeah, exactly, right. And he and my dad, they went way back. They were college roommates. And so, my grandparents and his parents, they knew each other. So they were good friends. And Roger was going to be, at least they thought he was going to be part of the first Apollo mission to actually make it to the moon. And one of the first astronauts to be there. And he told my dad, he said, you know what, when I'm up there, I'm going to get some moon rocks and I'm going to bring them home and I'm going to give them to your boys, me and my brother. And my dad said, you came this close to getting a moon rock. However, we know what happened in 1967, I believe it was. There was a fire on the launch pad and it killed all three of the astronauts.
That was horrifying. Yeah, that was so
Gus
sad.
Grissom and,
you know what?
Roger Chaffee, too.
Larry Burkett was at mission control. He was monitoring the heart rate and that kind of thing. I talked with Larry years after that, and he said, I was there when that accident happened.
Really?
I got to watch the heart rate, and it's this gruesome story, and it's so sad. Grissom and Chaffee and White, and my brothers were into model rocketry and would talk about Grissom and Chaffee and White, but the sacrifices of those men and then those before them allowed that, propelled. It didn't stop them. It didn't stop them from going for the goal, which was to the moon and back. And it was partly because of the sacrifices that those men made. And isn't that part of the story? You don't have resurrection and redemption until you have the death, until you have the loss of the dream or something that is meant to keep you from moving forward in your life. That sings in my soul as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Larry Burkett, Solar Flare, did you read that?
Yes, I remember when they came out.
I love that book. That's a great story. Yeah, that was a great story about a magnetic flare coming from the sun and repolarizing the Earth. So
I remember seeing that book.
I have it at home.
Yeah,
I'll let you read it. It's really good. It's good.
Okay,
it makes your mind think about different things.
Let's talk about the genre of Christian fiction.
The Quakers save everybody. Because basically they don't need electricity.
Is that what it is?
Teach us
Everybody's
going to
go on Amazon right now and try to see if they can find a used copy of
the Amish and the Mennonites.
The Amish, yeah, the Amish do.
Yeah. Let's talk about Christian fiction. If somebody says that your books, Chris, are Christian fiction, is that a compliment or not?
Well, it depends on, where you're coming from. I want stories of faith to be in my books because that's the perspective that I'm coming from. If they're using it pejoratively to marginalize it, to put it in the back of the bookstore, then and you're just writing stories, you're superimposing your faith over everything, and everybody becomes a Christian in your books. That's what your perception of Christian fiction. Then, I have a problem with it. I like what Cal Thomas said. He said there's no Christian school, there's no Christian radio. There's only people can be Christians. And I feel the same about a book or a story. It's not a Christian story. Nobody says about John Grisham or any famous writer that's out there, you write only these kinds of books.
It's a lawyer story.
You could pigeonhole them. It's only a lawyer story. No, it's a people story. It's a story that draws you in. And one of the best compliments I ever got was from an atheist who read Junebug years ago. She was the medical person for my son's Little League team. And she came up to me and she said, I'm an atheist and I don't believe like you believe, but I got a hold of your book, Junebug. And she said, it helped me understand where you're coming from. She said, I still don't agree with you about God and about this, but I understand why the characters would believe the way that and act the way that they act. So if you write it in such a way that people can understand a worldview and can understand the motivation, and you don't paint every person who's not a Christian as an evil person, Right. Some of my most compelling characters that I've written about are not Christians. and because they have a worldview and they have a reason for why they do what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's talk about, and I think this goes hand in hand, and you actually wrote the novel for War Room, didn't you?
Right, yes.
Okay, so now you've got Christian movies, which are stories on film, of course, and then you have Christian fiction, which is, stories on the page. I think a lot of people tend to say, well, at least in the past they did. Christian films, it's a Christian movie. I can tell it's a Christian movie. We've come a long way in regard to this. And by the way, the Kendrick brothers have done a very good job with this. What would you say? I mean, how much farther do we have to go when it comes to Christian movies?
Well, and again, that depends on who's behind the camera. I'm working on another Kendrick project right now that hopefully will be out in the next year or so. I think with my own stories, how far do I have to go in order to tell my best story? I think Piece of the Moon is great. Could it improve? Yeah. I think a lot of the struggle that we have in Christian artistry is, how do you paint evil? How do you show the bad as well as the good? And remembering your audience and how much can they take of how far can you go with that? And I think the audience, the people who are reading Christian fiction or watching Christian movies, understand that in order for there to be a good to rise above, that you have to paint evil accurately and not just a caricature. Mm-hmm. And so to the extent that we can go there and we can condition the audience to be able to see evil at work, then I think we'll tell better stories. The Bible doesn't hold back on that. The Bible, at the very beginning, you've got the serpent coming into the garden, and you've got this malevolent evil that is against the creator of the universe. And Adrian Rogers said, Satan is God's devil. Many others have said that as well. That the reality of an antagonist, an enemy, is real in the universe as it is in the stories that we tell. So that's how I'd answer that.
Okay, so the Kendrick brothers, they're working on a new film. Is Kirk Cameron going to be in this one?
I think he was part of the impetus for this. But I haven't seen the early shots of this, so I'm not going to tell. I can't tell you.
You know where I was going with that, right?
I think Christian movies have come a long way. I can really enjoy them now, whereas before it was hard to enjoy them.
Yeah, I know.
I would support them, but I didn't enjoy them.
I know. Let's be honest, and see, everybody wanted to be polite too. They don't want to point a finger and say, "Oh, that was really cheesy," but
sometimes
some of them were.
They were infants, but now it's really coming into its own, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
All right, so Piece of the Moon. When is the movie coming out? Actually.
Boy, wouldn't I love to see that?
Yeah.
And I would want to be a walk-on, in the
do a cameo
at the radio station.
Yeah, like Stan Lee, be in all your movies.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
Yeah. One of my favorite characters is Wade Evers, and he is this kind of an older guy. He's in his upper 50s. This is in 1980. So when you were in your upper 50s in 1980, it's older than now.
Yes.
Of course.
And he's the guy that will give everybody a second chance. Because in the station where I worked as a kid, it was the lowest on the totem pole. It was the place that you would fall. If you were working at a larger station, this Country 16 would be the place that you would land if you made a great big mistake over there. And so the station manager that I had, Sebe Tweel, Sebe would give people a second chance. And so I kind of made the character him and some other people that I've known who've given people second chances when maybe they didn't even deserve it or didn't think they deserved it. And I just love that about him. And the secret about Wade, though, is he's the one who needs a second chance as well. And you get to see that play out in the story. And maybe there's somebody, watching, listening, who needs a second chance in life. God is a God of second chances.
Amen.
I mentioned David. He gave David a huge second chance and third and fourth and all the mistakes that he made. God's a God of second chances.
Amen.
You know what it reminds me of?
Someone just wrote in, Chris, my daughter and I listened to Kurt and Kate on the way to school, and Chris to you at 3 p.m. when on their way home.
Yay! Two birds with one stone.
Cassandra from Tampa.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yes, Cassandra from Tampa.
Cassandra, how
Thank
are you?
you, Cassandra.
That story that you were talking about, you're relaying the story from the radio station in A Piece of the Moon. My first full-time radio job was in Waco, Texas. It was in a smaller station. And I was part of a morning show, and the regular morning show guy, the DJ, he got canned, and they brought in this older gentleman he was a legend from Baltimore. He was up in the Northeast. They called him the Dutchman, and he was really well known as one of those popular DJs of the time of the early 70s, but he had fallen on hard times, and so he ended up in Waco, Texas, doing a morning show, and it was kind of tragic in some ways because I think he had been, drinking through the years or whatever, and his hands used to shake. But I was thinking about that when you were relating some of, where are you at? You land here because it can be kind of a precipitous fall, so to speak. But it reminded me of this guy. But that's very real. So it's taken me back. I'm having flashbacks.
Well, here's the other thing. All the people that I would work with, and I worked with at a radio station and a TV station, it was like they were trying to get to the next biggest market. They're trying to get to one more place away from where I want to be. Yeah. And so there is this something on the inside that is in order to have success, I just got to get up one more rung of the ladder and then one more rung of that ladder. And I saw early on that is never, unless you answer that question on the inside, it will never be answered by getting a little higher up the ladder.
It's so true. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the way we think of broadcasting, though. Next market, next market, moving around the country. That's what I did, and that's just chasing that. And God uses it, of course, in retrospect, but it's awesome to let him take the lead and all of that. Forever grateful that he led me into Christian radio, because I'm not only someone who gets to do this, it's a privilege to do it. I know we all feel the same way. But also, it's one of those situations where we benefit from it and we get to contribute to it. And it's the gift of God from beginning to end. I'm glad I'm not chasing all that other stuff. And whatever he wants to do in my life, that's cool. Because guess what? I don't deserve to be here on my best day. And that's the truth. Yeah.
That's the truth for all of us.
Yeah.
And we have a really good crew here, too, which is very nice that we don't come in and think, okay, I have to put up with this person today. Or at least I don't. Maybe I'm the person everyone else is thinking that about.
I was pausing. I'm like, oh, thank you, Kate, because I've always wondered. I see that look on your face, and I'm wondering, what is she really thinking here? This could be scary.
I keep my accounts short.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Chris, we have to let you go. And what a joy it's been to connect with you. Of course, Chris Fabry live, 3 o'clock, right here on Moody Radio, Florida. Name of the book is A Piece of the Moon, and it is excellent. Thanks for giving us a piece of your mind.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Thank you for what you guys do. You do it well. And for carving out this time with me, it's just been real special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day today.
God bless
Chris.
you.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
JB, that was fun, wasn't it?
So good. Yeah.
What a good guy.
Love Chris.
Yes.
So glad he's part of the Moody Radio family.
Everybody hold up their books. So,
Yay.
All right, Piece of the Moon.
Here it is.
We've got our little Piece of the Moon. So would you like to win a signed copy of Chris's new book, A Piece of the Moon? We will throw it in our prize pack along with the Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee tumblers and the Kurt and Kate Mornings coffee blend from Dignity Roasters. Like that. Text the word coffee. You have to do it right now, though, because we're going to cut it off here in about 5 minutes or so. Text the word coffee to the Kurt and Kate hotline, which is 888-777-6810. Text the word coffee to 888-777-6810. What a joy to be able to spend some time with you here on Facebook Live and YouTube as well. I've had such a good...
And thanks for all the comments. We didn't get a chance to get to all of them. There were so many hellos. We're so glad you had coffee with us.
See one here from Patrick.
I saw a couple from Patrick.
Yeah, he says, my father-in-law has moon rocks from 2 missions, worked for NASA 1963 through 1994.
Wow.
Oh, my. That's great, Patrick. That's fascinating
history.
stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
So moon
I love
rocks
the
may
space
be
program.
more
I get
common than we actually think.
Yeah. Well, or some people say, well, actually, that's not a moon rock. They didn't let you have one. But that's,
it's a piece of
rock.
the Berlin Wall.
Yeah. I thought
it is.
I thought I bought a moon rock on eBay.
Yeah.
And so you don't think it's real?
No.
It was
that's
$5.
I don't know.
That's a salt lamp.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. Coffee with Kurt and Kate, the virtual edition. Thanks to Chris Fabry. And text the word coffee. Your chance, the clock is ticking for the prize pack. Coffee to 888-777-6810. Have a great day today, and thank you so much for your company. We'll see you on the radio.